Welcome back to Partum the Mess, a podcast about humorous, inspirational, and educational experiences presented by first-time moms trying to navigate parenthood and staying sane doing it. I'm your host, Brittany, and today I'm joined by Jessica.
Hello.
And Cody.
Hey, everybody.
This is episode 15, and today we'll catch up with you, and then we're going to talk about products and other expectations. Let me say that differently. This is episode 15, and today we'll catch up with you, and then we'll talk about some expectations that we had for our births that didn't go exactly how we expected, and some products that maybe didn't go exactly how we expected. So we hope that you can relate to us because every birth is different, but a lot of the time we can find solace in things not going how we expect, and then also products that we anticipate being lifesavers, maybe just not providing the best life-saving like we expected. So first we'll catch up with you. Who wants to go first?
I can go.
Okay.
So we had a pretty traumatic experience this week. We lost our cat, Gus, which was very unusual because he's completely indoor only cat. And the only time he ever goes outside is maybe into the backyard. And then as soon as we shut the back door, he comes running to the door. I mean, he doesn't, if the door is left open, he's okay, but he doesn't like being shut outside at all. So when he disappeared, we thought he was just kind of lost in the house, and we looked everywhere for him. And I called TJ and told him, and he came home from work to help look, and we just tore apart the house and could not find him. We couldn't find him anywhere in the backyard. So we just thought the worst because usually with I've had cats my whole life, and usually with cats, when they have unexpected behavior like that and when they just disappear, it's usually that they've gone somewhere to die. And he's an older cat. He's not terribly old, but he's at least 10 years old because we rescued him and they kind of guessed how old he was when we got him. So he's at least 10 years old, and he's had diabetes for a while. And so we just thought, I mean, it was weird because he wasn't showing any signs of being sick or anything abnormal outside of the diabetes, but that was just totally my expectation. I mean, we went out and we looked for him and everything, but I was just like, he's gone for good. He's never coming back. And just to cover all of our bases, I posted on Facebook on our neighborhood page. I posted on Lost Animal page for our area, and then we called the shelters and stuff, and didn't get anything for a day. Actually, I can't remember, when did I post on? It was yesterday. I posted yesterday, yeah. And nobody said anything for a while, so I just thought, okay, well, no one in the neighborhood seen him. That confirms it, right? I was ready to pack up the cat stuff today. I told TJ, I was like, can we just put it, because I kept, every room I walked in, there was stuff there, and I'm like, I just want to pack it up and put it away. And he's like, well, let's just wait a little bit, which was a good call, because it was only a few hours later that someone from the neighborhood spotted him and contacted us and stuff. So it was just much more traumatic than I was expecting it to be. And honestly, I've had pets my whole life. Like I said, I've had cats my whole life, and I have not really felt like I do now. And I'm wondering if it's because of Jamie. And I know he's super young and he won't remember, but I don't know. It was just kind of that I have a different mentality when it comes to family now. We're not just individual components. We're like a family unit.
Yeah.
And it was just much more traumatic to me than I expected it to be, but all is well. Gus is back home, so.
So good. I was telling do you mind if I, just as a side note, do you mind if I mention about his insulin?
No, that's fine.
Okay. I'm leaning away. Sorry. So I was talking to my sister today and telling her before we found out that Gus had come home, I was telling her how sad of a situation it is, and she's one of our listeners, and she was or I told her how Gus is on insulin, and she said, I didn't know that cats could be on insulin. Oh, wait a second, Angela on The Office's cat is on insulin.
Yeah.
I knew that. So
Yep.
yeah, I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, he had, so I worked as a vet tech for a couple of years, and when he started showing signs like drinking a lot of water and peeing everywhere, even outside of his litter box, and he would get kind of like big eyes, like big glossy eyes with drool, which is usually when their blood sugar is really, really high. So I noticed those signs and I was like, he has diabetes. And TJ was like, I don't think so. I think he's just peeing because he's a butt. Like, like we wouldn't let him in the room, so he peed on the carpet or whatever. He's just being a turd. And I'm like, no, I think he has diabetes. So we took him in, got the diagnosis, and I've done many like insulin shots and stuff. I used to deal with diabetic cats a lot, so it was really easy for us to transition into his care. But that was a first for a lot of people that we knew, like our family and stuff. They had no idea that animals could get diabetes, and also that they have like special insulin for animals and things like that. But
he's not just like some high needs cat. We
yeah,
treat him with exceptional care.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason why I was so like firm in my belief that he would be gone somewhere, like for good, because he had been missing for just over a day, which means he missed 3 insulin shots and probably had no food, which the neighbor who had him told me that she did give him some food, which was great. But I was just thinking, no food, probably no water, and no insulin for over a day. Like, there's no way he's made it. So, but he did. So that was good news.
That's so good. Can I tell you guys about a situation that happened to me last June involving a cat that we didn't know, but we met when we found out he died? So I was with the friend, and we were the story is bigger, like why we were talking to this guy, but we needed some help, and so we were asking to borrow his phone. And this was like on the side of the road, some like camp type site, and we were waiting for her husband to come pick us up, and she goes, "Oh, there's a cat under your," can you guys hear me okay, the volume?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, "There's a cat under your trailer." And it was like a construction site, so it's kind of a little bit off, and he goes, "Nacho? And he goes, "You found Nacho?" And we're like, "Oh, we found Nacho." And then he's like bending down, and he's like, "Nacho, Nacho, are you dead? Nacho's dead." And we're like, "Ugh, like I'm so sorry." Like he was like this roller coaster of emotions where he's like, "I found my cat. My cat's dead." And I was like, "I feel like we should leave." It was so sad. I mean, he didn't like lash out at us, but I just felt so awkward that we were like, "Sorry. Maybe we should have let you find him."
Yeah.
I don't know.
That was like my biggest fear, because like I said, he never goes outside. And when we couldn't find him in the backyard, we were like, well, he's somewhere in the house. Like, he went to hide somewhere in the house and die, and we're going to find him, in days or whatever. And I'm like, that can't happen. We need to find him now. So we turned over the house like several times, just because I was not about to just stumble upon his body. It's just so morbid. So it all turned out well. I'm so grateful. I was going to say one more thing too. So this week my sister graduated, which is awesome.
Congratulations.
Yes.
To all of you.
No longer, well, I guess she's no longer a teenager. She's 18. She's graduated. She's like, she still lives in my house, but she's technically legally off my plate. So, but we went and took her graduation photos on Sunday this week. And while we were at the school taking her pictures, there was a lost dog that we found, and he looked kind of scraggly. We had a collar on, but there wasn't any identification or anything. It was just a rabies tag. And we stopped taking our pictures and drove around the neighborhoods. We knocked on a few doors. We asked a couple people walking. Nobody knew who he was. So then we called like animal control, but it's Sunday, so obviously like the pound and everything's closed. So we called the hotline, the dispatch hotline, and they were like, "Oh, we have the owners on the other line right now. They'll meet you." Don't get too excited.
No.
So like, because we described the dog and everything, whatever. So we park in the parking lot and we wait for them to come, and then they come and they're like, "No, that's not our dog." So
sad
we
for both.
wished them luck, and then we called the dispatch again, and she's like, "Okay, we'll send an officer to you," or whatever. So we had to wait for the officer to come pick up the dog. But while we were looking for the owner and talking to people, one of the guys was like, that we talked to was, said, "Hey, you guys are doing the Lord's work, like good luck," whatever. And which we don't believe. I mean, we have pets, and we know that if anyone found our pets, we would want them to look for us and put in some effort. So that's what we do. And that's what I said to TJ. And I'm like, it'll just come around, one of our pets will get lost, and then it'll just come around to us. It was like insane to me that this happened just days later. But it did. Karma's real.
Yeah. So good. Way to put in the time for the Lord.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Cody, do you want to share anything?
Yeah. What is new with us this week? It was our anniversary this week.
Oh, yeah.
And we both forgot. So the only reason we remembered, I remembered, my sister called me and she's like, hey, it's your anniversary. Do you want me to watch Emmett for you? And I was like, let me get back to you, because I think both of us forgot. And then I told Eden, I was like, it's our anniversary. And he's like, hey, yo, that snuck up. And so we didn't do anything on our anniversary, but we're going to do something this weekend. But I just think it's funny how much kids change. And I think the pandemic too, I think that affected things, but because we thought like, whoa, what could we do? What would be something fun? And there was really just go out to eat, but I already had dinner planned. And like, yeah. And so it was just like, no, there's nothing we could really do. So there's a lot of reasons, but I think kids do change celebrations of any kind.
Yeah.
Whether it's like they make them more important or maybe less significant, it's just.
Or more work. I feel like
the
spontaneity sometimes goes away a little bit a lot goes away when we're like, what do we do with him? Do we bring him? Do we find someone to watch him? Like,
for sure.
You guys have to plan ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So you know how on, I'll say TV or movies or commercials about like cars and banks, they like have somebody like text them like, don't do anything for dinner tonight and get in a nice outfit. And the woman's like, done. I'm like, that could never happen. I've already, if I don't have dinner done, planned, then, he better be doing it on those days, because I don't know if you felt this way on your anniversary, but I probably would have been like, it's worse now that I actually planned something. If I just throw it out the window, So yeah, like.
Or I had expectations for the evening that were not to shave my legs and do my hair. And I have a hair cycle. If I had known this, I wouldn't have washed my hair yesterday. But now I have to wash it again because I actually need to do it, and it dried funny.
Yeah.
Like, these are there's definitely lots of thoughts that go through my head with spontaneous plans.
Yeah. Well, good luck this weekend. I remember you asking about Continental Breakfasts, and I voted yes for Continental Breakfasts.
Yeah, they're the best. I don't know why Eden was like, they're nasty. I was like,
it depends where you go. Maybe he hasn't gone to a good place.
No, we've been to fancy ones.
What's his breakfast of choice?
I don't know.
What does he like?
Is it like the waffles? Do you flip over?
In Brazil, they eat like cake and fruit for breakfast. So
like on the regular?
Yeah. Like cakes. We stayed at a hotel and they made cheese bread and cakes and fruit and like sandwiches every morning.
It's like really only America that does the whole bacon and eggs thing. Like
the right way.
A lot and pancakes and stuff like cereal.
Yeah.
A lot of other countries just eat normal
regular food. Yeah.
Because
I can't imagine that, because you know how a lot of people like things like chicken or pizza for breakfast. I don't know actually about what's a lot. I just know a lot of my friends would growing up, and I feel like my stomach needs to be primed for such crazy things. But yeah, I'll eat a lot of bacon, a lot of eggs, a lot of waffles, all in one meal.
Yeah.
And then a side of fruit salad and juice. At a minimum.
I like the variety. I like the fact that I can wake up and be like, what am I feeling? Oh, I don't have to I don't have to make sure I have the groceries. I can just go down if I'm like, oh, I want a muffin. And they have they have these boiled eggs, and there's this whole juice machine. I can pick all the juice.
Mix some.
Have either of you ever stayed at Embassy Suites?
Yes.
Embassy Suites. Their breakfast, so they have, I don't know if they would classify it as a continental breakfast. I don't think so, because continental breakfast means it's not cooked. It's not hot, right?
Yeah, I think that's maybe the difference with you and Eden. I think that there's like a level of quality. Once it reaches continental, it's like,
well, and he grew up rich. I grew up poor. So for me, like, just the fact that I had the choices.
Yeah. Unlimited.
Awesome. Yeah. And it was the same thing. Like, Burger King for me was the bee's knees, and Eden was like, Burger King. But I love
Your way.
I know, it's like, and I can order off of something other than the dollar menu. I'm killing it. Like I could get a Happy Meal I could get a Happy. It's just
no one's cutting you off.
Different classes, I think.
Yeah,
he definitely grew up wealthier than I did.
Well, take him to an Embassy Suites next time you go on vacation, because they have like an all-you-can-eat omelet or breakfast burrito, whatever. Like you can tell them whatever you want, and they put it in an omelet for you. They also have other continental breakfast stuff, but
he would love that. That's his favorite thing on cruises.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
it's the omelet bar.
Speaking of cruises, I remember because at least on the couple that I went, I've been on 3, but the last 2 were Carnival, and I remember in particular the last one they made me order the night before my breakfast, which who knows? Right?
Yeah, so, that's weird.
Yeah, and I was like, I feel discriminated. Which, just as a side note, I realize that's totally a first world problem. But I was like, if I'm paying to go on a cruise, I want to feel just like everyone else, just because I have an intolerance. So they asked me to order before, and I do. And then I remember one morning I went to breakfast, and you just tell them like your room number, and then the order is already there no matter where you're eating. And I said, actually, could I also have this? I either didn't realize I could have it, or I felt like something else in the morning. And he was so put out. And I really wish, I think about this a lot, I really wish I had been like to my server, like, sit down, tell me, did you get hurt for putting in an order last minute for a gluten-free item? Does it come out of your pay? Are you feeling, because I'd like to, as a social worker, I would like to advocate for you if you're being penalized for this, because this is not your fault and the system's broke. So I was like, why is this such a big deal? And he was so obviously put out. And maybe it wasn't obvious to him, or maybe he wasn't put out and he was really just Russian or something, but he really seemed bugged. Anyway. Was there anything else you wanted to say about that? That was a great update.
No, I don't think so. The only other thing, Emmett's been obsessed with bikes and scooters and cars for a while, and so we decided to try to find a bike or scooter that would fit him well, and we bought a few different ones. First of all, kids' scooters and bikes are way overpriced. It should not be $80, $60 to $80 for
kids everything.
Oh my god!
No, for how quickly they grow out of it.
Are you kidding me? But anyway, we bought a few different ones just to see, and then we were going to return the ones he didn't like. So we found a little scooter that he loves, and I'm impressed with how it's pretty versatile. So it can like kind of turn into a strider bike. There's like a little seat that's folded in, and it kind of folds up to be a strider bike, and then it folds down and it's a scooter. And then you can raise and lower the handlebars, obviously. And then finally, once he's like advanced enough, you can take the scooter part off, and it turns into kind of like a longboard skateboard thing.
Oh, cool.
So it's really cool.
Yeah.
And he does well, and it turns like a longboard too. So it doesn't turn like when you turn the handlebars, it turns with leaning. I think most scooters do, but I just thought I'd add that in there for anyone who is curious.
Will you get me the information so I can post it later?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to put Emmett's scooter. That's exciting. That's fun. I think that was probably the one that I saw the kids on.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So my my update's pretty brief. My kids have been struggling. I talked about this before. They're not talking. And then today, we went to the doctor yesterday for their 18-month. And then today, Buddy was saying what I believe to be hi and bye. And Emmett was over. And I think that's why. I was like, yes.
Oh.
Yeah. It was
You're little and you say things. All right, I'll say things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and he kept saying, and I think the hi was, he was basically leaving off the I part. He was just being like, but he would say it while waving. So that's why I felt like it. It's like, ha, yeah, ha. And it was so cute. And then bye, he did a couple times. And every time Phil was doing something today, like a social event on playing an online game. And every time he did, I was like, pay more attention. This is the greatest thing ever. So yeah, he was a good sport about it, but he's probably like, I heard it. I don't need you to freak out. I said, Emmett, that was our kid.
It was ours.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead. We're going to skip product praise because we're going to talk about some products in a minute, but I'd like to talk about one second. My thing's freezing. So I'd like to start off talking about birth plans. Now, I know all of our listeners aren't in that stage of life, but I'd like you to listen with the filter of expectations and then how things might have gone differently for you. And we're going to share just a little bit. We're not going to go through our birth plans, meaning entirely. That would be a little bit like yes to Pitocin or no to Pitocin until this point, like not like that, but talking about some things that we went through to make our birth plan. So if any of you are getting to that point, you might have some ideas that might help you, especially if you don't have a doula or something guiding you. And then some other things that might have gone less than ideal in the hospital, because we all three ended up having hospital births, but things also that we really liked, because I think it's important that we talk about positives as well. Do any of you have anything burning? Because if not, I'll just say real quick mine because it's pretty short.
You could say yours.
Okay, so I didn't know anything about birth plans when I got pregnant. I actually don't remember if I even knew that they existed, but my doula, she talked about it and really guided us in it. And so that's how we ended up making a birth plan. And it was interesting how eye-opening, because there was a lot of words that she would say, do you want this? Like I mentioned Pitocin. I'd never heard of Pitocin, so I had to ask her what it meant. And at one point I just had to get over my shame of not knowing anything. And I was like, okay, let's just assume I know nothing to find everything. So that was really pretty much the only thing that the only resource that I turned to. But did you guys have anything else or other resources to help you build yours?
YouTube.
That's great.
Yeah, there's several people that I follow that I watch their videos. I didn't write them down, but we can include them in the show notes. But
That's
one
okay.
that comes to mind was Bundle Birth. She's great. She's a nurse, but also I can't remember if she was a doula or a midwife or something. She kind of covers both areas of hospital birth and home birth and things like that. But she does these great videos, just super informative. Brittany, I think I sent you, those are the ones I sent you.
Oh yeah.
Were like relating effacement and dilation to the rubber bands or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yes.
yeah. And then she also does like monthly Q&As where she calls them coffee and questions, where she just kind of sits and answers people's questions. And I actually submitted questions to her when I found out my doctor was going to be on vacation when my birth was going to happen or whatever. And I was like, what would you recommend, like sticking with your normal practitioner and being induced with an elective induction, or waiting for my doctor to get back or whatever. But I actually don't remember. I don't think I watched the December one because I had, or the January one because I had already had him. So I don't know if she answered my question or not. But yeah, just those were super informative. There's a lot of doulas and midwives and nurse practitioners that do videos. I actually also watched the videos that Intermountain Hospital puts out, which is where we had Jamie. And so the specific hospital giving those videos about what to expect and what their policies are and different things like that, that was vital, because I felt like going in, I kind of knew what the hospital practices were. I also asked my doctor a lot. I took my birth plan to my doctor and said, what are the things here that the hospital can do, will do, whatever. And so yeah, YouTube was my best friend. It was a free resource of lots and lots and lots of information. As much as I wanted to find out, I could.
That's awesome. What about you, Cody?
So I used a few different ones. I think that one that most people don't use that I really liked is it's not specific to pregnancy, but I think it has so much good information just about your body and your child's body. It's called Follow Your Gut, and it's about your microbiome. I don't know if either of you have read it. It's a really easy read.
Book?
Book, yes. Oh, okay. And I'm not a reader. But
that's good to hear.
Yes, not a reader. Do not like reading. But this was very informative, pretty easy to read, and it opened my eyes to a lot of things. Like, if we were going to have a C-section, how would we get the bacteria that the baby needs on the baby? Things like that. Just kind of opened my eyes like, oh, it's not just the baby comes out. Like there's other things to consider that maybe the hospital is not going to offer unless you request.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so that opened my eyes to that. And then I think talking with my midwife, we did a birth class / like workbook on I don't remember exactly what it was called, but talking about how to have an unmedicated birth and reading a Hypnobaby's book.
You did read that?
Yeah, I did read that.
How was that read?
It was a book.
I've been nervous to get into that because of that. I thought I would just be glazed over.
I did sometimes. Sometimes I'd be like really into it because I was all about natural birth. I still am all about natural birth, by the way. I said still am, but I was like really gung-ho. And so I would like dedicate myself to reading it, but it was not as easy as Follow Your Gut for sure. And then Ovia, actually, the Ovia pregnancy app, they would send out a lot of articles that I felt like were very informative and eye-opening about, okay, here are some things you need to consider. Here, like vaccines, here's XYZ that you have the option to say yes or no to in the hospital. And so
I use that app as well. That was
that's
a good
good
one. I will say
awesome.
though, with any resources, because I read a lot of books as well, Ina May's books, Ina May's Guide to Childbirth and Guide to Breastfeeding were really important.
Read that one as well.
But what I think is so weird about the topic of childbirth is that people like they just have their way of thinking, I guess, their way of doing it. Like with hypnobirthing, I did research that, but to go 100% hypnobirthing was not for me at all. Like it was just not my mentality.
Yeah.
But I picked up a few things from that and kind of brought it to my own realm, my own preference. And I did that a lot. Like Ina May's books were great. They were very informative, very pro natural labor, which I think was good for motivating me and stuff. But she also, for me, goes a little bit too far.
Same. I read
some
hers
of the
as
things.
Well.
I was like,
Same.
Some of the things she was talking about were just not for me. They were a little too much for me. But I took a lot of information from that to kind of build my own thing. And so I think that's the most important thing that I learned was there's not one perfect way to do it. And you can build your own birth plan based on your own wants and needs and desires, but you still have to be flexible with all of it, obviously. But that was there wasn't anything I can be like, yes, do this method because this is the best.
Yeah. I think it's good also to consider, and I didn't know this when I was planning, but in a recent conversation with my OB, she was saying, I feel bad that I don't think that you really knew all of your options. And I was a little bit resentful after that conversation, like, well, whose fault is that?
Yeah.
Like, we all knew the C-section was on the table. It seems like it's always on the table when you have twins. And so I'm not really mad about it now, but I think that it's easy to be like, well, should my doula have told me? Should you have told me? Why didn't I get another plan? Because she said, you can have like this is my plan A, this is my plan B. So I don't always do this, but this time I felt like I was able to take away from that conversation with my doctor, okay, well, at least I know for the future these things. And so I feel a little bit more empowered for future, hopefully, of course, I don't know, but future pregnancies and deliveries that, this is my plan and my hope, and feeling like I can ask for whatever I want and they'll tell me, like, if it's not a policy that they can do, like if I'm like, I want a tub birth and they don't have tubs, then I can find that out, which I did find that out in my last one, but it's things like that, and then have like a plan B. And she said, I wish we had really explored some of these options because we might have been able to advocate more for your doula coming into your C-section. And I was like, like, again, we knew that this was coming. So is this, I don't know. And my doctor's awesome. I don't have any problem with her. And it's been like, over a year and a half now. I'm surprised she remembers some things as well as she did. But I guess because it matters to me, I can now go, okay, well, this is what she said X amount of months ago or years ago in referencing my recent conversation, and say, this is really important to me. So if it can't happen, then I can leave. Because that was my conversation before we got pregnant again. I wanted to ask her what her position is on VBACs. And interestingly, she said, I'm very pro VBAC. And so is the hospital, Utah Valley Hospital. And she said, in fact, they're kind of like, I can't remember what word she used, but for lack of remembering, I'll say they're kind of like rude to you if you don't try a VBAC first. I mean, and I was like, am I in a dream? Because I've met nobody who has said this about hospitals and doctors. Everything I've heard has been like, your doctor may be VBAC friendly or VBAC tolerant or against VBACs. Nobody's like pushing you for that. And so I was like, am I going to be like punked later? So I like having, that I'm encouraged because my doctor has been very transparent in the past, and I feel like she is being honest, but I feel like with this reminder that I can have plan A, plan B, plan C, or whatever, that I can go in saying, okay, I don't care if you're going to punk me later. This is my plan. And so if I am going to get pushed into something encouraged, then I'm going to say, okay, well then I guess my doula gets to count or whatever, and it gives me it's a much more empowering experience.
Well, and that's true also because you have planned it. I mean, when you go in with one plan, that plan is not going to happen.
Yeah.
Spoilers. If you haven't had a baby, your birth plan will most likely not happen in the exact way that you had planned it. But if you have multiple plans or multiple degrees of, like with an epidural, for me, I went in saying that I wasn't going to get one unless I needed one. I didn't say I wasn't going to get one no matter what. And I didn't say I had to have, if I did say I had to have an epidural, they probably would have given me one. But I wasn't rigid with it. I was flexible with it. And so no matter what happens then, I planned it that way. And I feel empowered because of that.
Yes.
And I think that people get discouraged because they know that it's not going to go according to plan, or they feel that way. And so they don't make a plan. Please make a plan. Make a plan, and then accept that, hey, things may not go according to plan, but at least I'm well informed.
Yeah.
At least I know the consequences of X, Y, and Z, the consequences of choosing to get an episiotomy.
Yeah.
What are the different circumstances that I would be okay with getting an epidural? What are the different circumstances that I'm okay with getting Pitocin? And those are things you should be informed about, because then when it comes down to decision time, you don't feel like you are caught off guard.
Right.
Okay, I said if this happens, then I'm okay with this decision. Is it my ideal? No, but at least I know what I'm doing.
Right.
And that's the big difference. So I don't think any of us are encouraging you not to make a plan.
Right.
Make a plan. Just understand it may go different.
Awesome. Well, thank you for what you just said, Cody. I think that was a really good point. I'd like to transition to talking about a few good things. Well, I'm sorry. Let me first say, if there's anything that in your birth plan didn't go as you would like, that you would like to highlight, and then we can talk about some good things that happened, whether in our birth plan or just in the hospital stay. Because I know, Cody, for example, you weren't looking forward or expecting to have a hospital stay, so it was probably all like everything was different in your birth plan.
Different.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's probably really hard for you to be not defensive the whole time, because you weren't prepared for any of it.
Yeah. I think at that point, I just wanted a healthy baby. I just wanted it to be over. I was like, get him here safe and have it be done. But
you were suffering from enough things.
Yes. Yeah. I think one thing that I was really hoping that I didn't get to do, that I don't think I mentioned in my birth story, was labor when I was getting to the point where I felt like I needed to get an epidural, or that I couldn't do this anymore. I really wanted to get into the tub, because that had just been such a source of peace for me throughout my pregnancy. When I would have anxiety, I would go get in a tub and I could just relax and let go. And, as much as I could. And so I really wanted to do that. And I felt like it was going to be a great tool. And because I was on Pitocin, they took it off the table. And so that was really hard.
Yep.
That was a really hard reality to accept, that I couldn't go get in the bath. And that was it's hopefully something that next time I can integrate into my birth plan.
That was the same for me. I was very close to wanting to do a water birth, like a full-on water birth, but again, because of the high risk possibilities and everything, we planned on a hospital birth, which I knew that took water birth off the table, but they still allowed laboring in the tub and in the shower and stuff. And yeah, the Pitocin and the monitors, that's really what the issue was, I think, was the monitors, because I had the Pitocin, they had to keep monitoring me and the baby, and that just took so much away, like movement wise.
Yeah.
And I mean, what I hate about it so much is that it's such a domino effect with interventions. It's such a domino effect because you can't just do one. There's just like this, okay, you have to have Pitocin. Well, now that means you can't move. So your labor,
you're restricted in X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Well, these are 3 things that could really get me through.
Yeah.
Get me through the transition period where I'm really struggling. I want those things. I want to be able to move in the position that feels comfortable. I don't want wires hanging out of me. That's uncomfortable. That was so uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
And I want to get in the tub. Like, those are just 3 really big things that.
Yeah. And because you can't comfort yourself in those ways, then the epidural becomes much more likely. And then with the epidural comes other things with making it harder to push sometimes, which then can lead to tearing and episiotomies. Like there's just a lot of things that are just that domino effect. So
getting a catheter, I feel like getting a catheter for me made me so swollen down there. I was just, well, that's what people said. I don't know. I wasn't looking. I was not about to see, but Eden was like, wow, that made a big difference. The way things look. So,
I was expecting more complications from the catheter, but I thankfully did not experience them. So, but I know there are a lot of complications, and with the epidural as well, there's a lot of things that you can experience with that negatively, and I didn't. So
that's good. I don't think I had any complications with my epidural. In fact, I think overall my delivery went very well. Like, people said a lot of things like, oh, that went well, or it could have, just different things I've heard. And I know that I had a C-section, so maybe that's what I experienced maybe was a lot more routine. But like, I don't know if I had any complications with the catheter, but I was actually just telling Phil last night that I hope that I don't have to have a catheter ever again. And I said, it was horrible.
Horrible.
Yeah. And he said, really?
Horrible.
Why was that? And I was like, oh, how do I explain it? And I know in my head, I'm like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like, it wasn't that bad, but it was so bad. Like, there's worse things, like losing a limb, probably, or something like, there's terrible things that could happen pain-wise, but it was just the sensation that was driving me insane. And it was like, to me, it was like, what's it called? The water, it's like slow and steady torture. That's what I felt like. Like, it was just
waterboarding.
Yeah. No. Like
dripping.
the dripping. You know how, like, not that I've ever had that happen.
Waterboarding. I was like, I don't think it's the same as getting waterboarded. That's
You don't know me. You don't know me.
That's like serious torture. I would rather get a catheter than get waterboarded.
Yeah, no kidding. Like, in perspective, I know that, but the reason why it was so aggravating is because it just had, for me, this pressure. I don't know how to really explain it well, but it felt like I just always needed to go to the bathroom.
Yes.
And I was like,
that's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah, I would like to feel in control of my body at all times. And I absolutely hate it when it feels like I have to pee, and then I try to pee and nothing really comes out. That's like insane inducing to me. And so I was like, I have to go to the bathroom, and they're like, no, it's just it's just the catheter. And I'm like, they're all lying to me. So it's just really like
it was
mental.
horrible.
Yeah.
And I also constantly felt like I was peeing, but it wasn't right. Like, it was so weird. I hated every aspect of the catheter.
That's so strange. Yeah. I could not even tell you anything about it. I didn't feel anything.
You're like, I loved it.
No. But I will say, so with my experience, like I described it in my episode, I was doing it naturally, or I guess without pain meds, until I got to a point of excruciating pain when I was 8.5 centimeters. That's when they did the epidural. And then after they did the epidural, they did catheter. So I didn't feel anything when they put it in. I didn't feel anything at all. And then they took it out right after Jamie was born. So it was
You didn't even feel pressure?
I had it for a few hours. No. Well, and I will say this too. So I went in on the day before, the evening before is when they started Pitocin. So I had been awake for probably, I don't know, definitely more than 24 hours, maybe 36 hours, somewhere around there. So when they gave me the epidural and I could no longer feel the contractions, I took a nap because I had no sleep at all. So I was asleep for a good portion of that, which is probably why I didn't progress as quickly as.
Mm-hmm.
I
right?
was able to sleep. So and then I was pushing. So it was kind of like I didn't have time to really focus on it because I was sleeping or I was trying to push the baby out. So
yeah.
But I can imagine if I had it for longer or whatever that it would be.
It was just so annoying. I would just be like, oh, I need to pee all the time.
Yeah.
And yet I feel like I'm peeing, like, but not like in a satisfying way. It's almost like I pee a little bit and then like I have to stop it, but I can't stop. Like it was so bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was
that's what a UTI feels like. Did it feel like
kind of like a UTI?
Ugh. I think the biggest change in my birth, like your whole birth plan, Cody, was jacked because you went to the hospital. And I feel like my whole birth plan was jacked because I had a C-section. And there was a lot of things that I did with my doula before, and she really worked with us a lot, like at home. And we tried to make sure that both the kids were in the right direction and all that. But things that I had expected, like our secret little relationship where she'd give me some food despite them saying I can't have food, and it would just be so fun, and we'd just labor and Phil and I would be bonded. Instead, he's like, it's gonna be okay, and I'm like, screw you, like I just didn't feel any kind of love and peace. I mean, I felt love from him, but I didn't feel love toward him, and I just felt like it was just so scary. And I think that that's possible in any, like an empowering or a disempowering birth, I think can happen regardless of your plan, regardless of if your doctor's there or your doula's there, all of that, whatever. So I'm not trying to be like, I was such a victim. I just think that because that happened, like you were talking about a domino effect, lots of things happened. Like my daughter's placenta was abrupted, so they needed to act quickly. And I understood that, but I didn't want it to go as quickly because I need things to go totally at my pace. Like in most things in my life for me to feel comfortable, which I've been reading this book. I can't say the author's name. I can't pronounce it, but it's called, I think, something like A Second Chance, and I'll link it. But it's this memoir of a woman whose first was a C-section and birth was a C-section, and then her second one, I'm assuming, is not. I haven't gotten to that yet, but as she I got it for free from something I went to, and I was like, you, Cody, were like, Buck, great. I don't have any intention of reading this, but I started reading it, and each chapter is like a page. So I'm like, yeah. So, and it's like 14 chapters or something. Like it's not that short, but it's pretty brief. Anyways, so I've really gotten through it a lot quicker than I would have otherwise. But she said something that really resonated, that she was with her first, she was at like 9.5 or something, and then I'm guessing 10 is like where your cervix just is completely open, right? It's not there. They kept saying your cervix is still there. I'm like, it doesn't disappear. But, so she kept fluctuating between 9 and 9.5, and they were really excited, and they brought in some things and like needles and different things, and she freaked out, and then she shrunk, like closed up again to a 6, and then she couldn't feel comfortable again. And she said, or somebody told her later, that when you're not comfortable and feel safe, you're not going to progress. And it just like so important. And I hope I remember that. And I hope any mother who is, whether it's your first or not, you remember that, because sometimes deliveries, I hear, just happen kind of naturally. And so if you have your second and you're not feeling safe, don't discredit anything because you may have had a different experience or an easy, whatever that means, right? An easy delivery your first time.
Yeah, and with that feeling safe and stuff, and feeling comfortable, I had planned another kind of, I don't know, not, I guess, disappointment. I had planned a lot of things to like help me enjoy labor. I had brought essential oils and I had music, whatever that, and I was thinking about lighting, and I mean, they talk about all these things, affirmations on the wall, things like that. I had, a friend gave me like a stack of things for my shower that people wrote on, and like positive affirmations and things to keep me strong or whatever, keep me going. Never used any of them. Not one of them. I was just in my zone. I used a birthing ball, and then after he got stuck, they gave me a peanut ball to use. Those were the only birth tools. Like I said, I wasn't able to use water or anything like that. The only birth tools that I used, and because I was just, it was so much about me and my body, and just, I mean, it was a lot of focus there, and I can't imagine using my brain power to be like, oh, I need some lavender
like,
right now.
Let me read some positive. Yeah. Like, I don't know how women find affirmations, I forgot the word. Hold on. Beneficial in labor, because there's no way I was inside of my own brain, trying to make it through every contraction, living one contraction at a time, thinking about nothing other than trying to stay alive.
Which is why I think a well-educated birth partner or a doula is so important, because TJ and I had taken some online classes about how to, like, positions that your partner can help you with to relieve pressure and stuff. And we did those because he saw me suffering and he was like, okay, let's do this. And I think it was Bundle Birth as well, who talked about like things that your partner can do for you. And one of them was, if you see them sweating or complaining that they're hot or whatever, like, put a cool rag on their head. Because I was not in a position to be able to ask for anything that I needed. And so just having people around you in the room who know you and who know techniques to help you. Like, if I had a doula there who had essential oils and used them on me, it probably would have helped me. But yeah, I had all that stuff packed. And the only thing I use, like I said, the birthing ball, the peanut ball, and my phone. Or for a lot of it, I was just watching shows on my phone, trying to keep myself distracted. And I mean, in the early part, not necessarily in the active or the transition part, but yeah, those were definitely the most important things to me in the room.
Yeah. So I'd like to talk about a couple of things that we thought went well, whether before or after, like in our recovery, and then we'll transition to talk about a few products. So just a couple of things that I really liked, and I wanted to tell these because I don't hear this very often from people, and I've told you guys this, but I thought the food was awesome. I was like, you're talking about like Burger King and Continental Breakfasts and stuff, and that's what I felt like. I was like, how many things can I order? 4 muffins?
A lot of
4?
things.
Yeah. I mean, that was what I did. They probably would have let me order more.
Yeah, that's true to our hospital. I don't know what Cody, yours was in the same network, right? The hospital that you use is the same network.
Was great too. Yeah, I'm not complaining. The food was great.
No, you guys went to the same.
You and I, Brittany, you and I were in Intermountain, but Cody, you were at Orem Community, weren't you?
I was at Orem Community.
That's Intermountain Healthcare.
It's Intermountain.
It's the same. Yeah. But it's a
Jess,
different hospital.
You went to Orem Community too, didn't you?
No.
Oh, you went to IHC? Why did I?
Yeah, I was IHC in
Yeah, I couldn't remember. We went together, and I remember now. Yeah, okay. Yeah, right.
But I know there are hospitals that don't have the greatest food or whatever, but particularly the Intermountain hospitals have really good food. That was one of my things too.
Did you like yours, Cody? Your food?
Yeah, they hooked it up.
That's good because
I could actually eat again too. I remember that because the last month I would just eat so much less because there was no room.
Yeah.
And then Eden was like, I remember ordering stuff and I was like, my mom was like, do you want me to pick you up food? And he's like, no, don't worry. I'll eat Cody's leftovers. And then I hounded it. I was
step off.
TJ was the same.
Wow.
It was the same. I literally ordered the maximum number of things, except they allowed you to have I don't know, 6 butters or something. Like I wouldn't get that many, but I literally ordered the maximum number of things I could have, and I ate all of it.
Yeah. I remember my mom saying, "Well, I'm glad you have your appetite back," and I was like, "I don't even know what that means. I don't even know if that's an insult." It's true.
Yeah. It's like, I just
do.
delivered a baby.
I know.
Let me
Seriously.
eat.
I know.
Like I need to replenish all of the calories that I just
Yeah.
burned in 24 hours of labor.
Yeah.
24 hours of labor without eating.
Yes. Well, one of my
I had a little honey, so
that's good. That's right.
Yeah,
You
that's
were
right.
forced,
That's right.
forced out the honey. Yeah. Yeah. One of my nurses told me, you eat like you were pregnant. And I was like, that put it in perspective. Like, eat like a pregnant woman. It's funny. And then I appreciated that I was able to stay in the hospital for so long. I know that it really depends on the insurance, but my insurance allowed us to stay for 4 days, and the bed was not comfortable. Like I realize that now. At the time I was like, this is so great, whatever. But I think we would have been losing our minds if we had left earlier. Plus I didn't feel, even after 72 hours, the doctors came in and I was like crying, and they were asking me about pain in different places, and I was like, emotional, physical, my soul, you can't kick me out. And they're like, well, seems like she needs another day. And I was like, heck. I mean, I wasn't making it up, but yeah, I was not opposed to staying another day. So I was like, yeah, what do they care? They're getting paid for it. My insurance covers it. We've met our deductible. Let's ride this out. Was there anything else that you guys liked?
Well, we got something that went really well for me, in spite of all the things that went wrong, was breastfeeding. And I think there were a lot of reasons why breastfeeding was good. I think I had a really strong breastfeeding positive support team to back me up. My mom breastfed all of her babies. My doula is like, she like runs La Leche League, doesn't run it, but she's like a part of it. And the doctor who delivered Emmett also is very pro breastfeeding, and so that was a really good aspect. But one thing, I got this medicated nipple cream stuff from the doctor, and it was awesome. I had almost no pain when I started breastfeeding, and I would apply it before and after, and sometimes just for fun in between. I would be like, hey, I'll put some more on just in case. And
get ahead of the game.
Really good. Yeah. It's like, why not? And the good thing is it's not harmful to the baby at all. The baby can ingest the cream and it doesn't do any harmful things. In fact, he said it could help prevent thrush. So
wonderful.
So he's like, don't worry about like not using it when the baby's gonna eat, just lather it. And I did.
What's the brand? Sorry,
I don't know. I should find
Can you?
it.
Yeah, just find it.
We'll try to find out. It's not. It's something that it's a prescription.
So then that's okay. Yeah,
doctor. But if you ask, like, hey, can I get the prescription nipple cream? They should know what you're talking about, because I think there's only one that they prescribe. They didn't talk about other options. So, but we did have to ask for it. I did ask for it because I think someone gave me that advice, and then they hooked it up.
That's great. Yeah. Jess, did you have anything else about the hospital?
I mean, nothing really that I loved about it. I mean, I have a fairly positive opinion about my whole experience, even though it went horribly wrong. But yeah, I mean, the food really was the best part.
They put up a sign. I thought that. I was like, about Jess's experience, my favorite part was that
the sign on my door.
Yeah, and I don't know if they did that in my delivery, but I was like, I want that.
What did it say?
Just that it said, don't knock, she's napping.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that was
really nice of them. People. Yeah, I liked that they allowed and encouraged Jamie to be with us, because that was something that we did want, and for that particular hospital, they do encourage it, the baby being with you as much as possible.
I didn't want
to. So unfortunately,
as much as they wanted. Yeah, they were very pro that.
But yeah, they were really great about that whenever we were napping, which was a lot. They would very gently come into the room and then put up the sign if they saw us, and they wouldn't really like wake me to do monitoring or anything like that, which was awesome.
That's great.
I thought the nurses too. I don't know if everyone has great experiences with nurses, but I would consider myself a high maintenance case when I came into the hospital with anxiety, depression, pups, and meconium, that I'm sure they were like, buckle up for this, Mom, because she's a hot mess. And I was a hot mess, but at no point did they make me feel like I was putting them out. I had to have ice packs. Well, I didn't have to, but they would bring me ice packs, and they would refill my ice packs every few hours so that I could put ice on the places where the pups were really bad. And just staying on top of medications that I was taking, because I was taking a lot of different ones, and taking Emma in the night when I needed help. They were just so sweet and so accommodating, and never once did I feel like I was putting them out by pushing the call button or asking for something else. So that was super nice.
That's so great. That's really invaluable. So let's not do the shoes part for time's sake, but let's talk about some other products that we you can kind of decide which. I guess let's start first with a few products that we felt like we really didn't need in the end. If you don't have very many, that's totally okay. But do either of you have any that you want to start with?
We never really used like a bassinet or a co-sleeper. Having the baby far away is challenging. And so, yeah, like I would suggest, and I'll talk a little bit about this more, but like buying a DockATot so that they're in the middle of the bed with you.
Oh yeah.
Like, that's what we did, and it worked really well for us, but I understand that everyone's different. That's just something that we didn't use. And then the other thing was I bought this special bottle soap for baby bottles, and I never used it. So
is that like natural soap, or what is that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just like an organic baby like dish soap.
Oh yeah, I think we use that. I don't know if I was just kind of like, okay, it can't hurt, but now we just use all the same soap. At the beginning we did. I think we were gifted some, so I was like, no, thanks.
Yeah. I mean, if you have it, use it, but
yeah,
I don't know if you need to buy it.
Yeah,
that was one thing I had on mine was like, I mean, I know that people are different about their opinions about products, but like baby specific soaps, shampoos, lotions. I mean, I had a lot of testers, so I think I just bought one bottle of soap or shampoo, baby shampoo. But Jamie had really bad eczema, so we had to reevaluate anything that we were putting on his skin. So I ended up not using any of it regularly. We used his shampoo several times, and then we actually have a special. We do I guess it's a baby because it's Dr. Bronner's baby soap, which is just like unscented Castile soap. And we use that for his diaper, his cloth wipes. And so now we use that for him, and it works really well because it's just like a bunch of oils and whatever together. Like there's no scents or anything like that. So yeah, baby specific stuff. I just be wary of that, because I feel like moms get taken advantage of by saying this is for babies. Well, why? I looked at the ingredients for the eczema cream with like normal adult eczema cream and baby eczema cream, and it's all the same ingredients, but they just package it for babies. So like just be wary of that, because there was a lot of that stuff that we didn't use.
Something that we were sort of on the fence about, I guess, meaning Phil didn't use it but I did, was a bottle warmer. And I liked it because we didn't use it for a very long time. It was probably like the very end, like after 9 or 10 months, I started using this. And I was like, what's this nonsense? Like, why were we not using this? We were warming up, what is it called? Milk, and that was frozen in like a cup or something like that, which I guess makes sense. It's kind of like a 2-part deal anyway. If you have to thaw it and then if it's already thawed and it's in the fridge and then you can put it in the bottle warmer, great. But if you have to thaw it anyway and warm water and then it's warmed, I don't know. So, and I never really figured out how to use it. I was just like turned it and then I was like, oh, that's good temperature. There's two, but we got it secondhand. And so I was just kind of like, I don't know how to use this. And then a food grinder. And now I'm not saying a food grinder is useless, because I think that people who make their own food probably benefit from it, but I didn't make my own food. We ended up getting on WIC, and so we had a whole bunch of baby food, which, as a side note, I was really leery of pre-made baby food because I'd heard like it has all these additives, but I was, at least now, WIC allows you to get certain ones that are like just that ingredient, like the only ingredient is carrot. So and there's probably theories about whether that's trustable or whatever, but if I'm going to trust that at least is just that ingredient. So that gave me a little bit more confidence. But for us, a baby grinder wasn't necessary. I know some people just use the blender anyway. So if you're going to make your own food, which I think is awesome and 2 thumbs up about it, just be cautious and don't necessarily think you have to buy a new, because somebody's probably getting rid of one. We were offered to.
We did make our own baby food, but we just used our blender.
Yeah.
You can literally just use your blender.
Yeah.
And we're doing baby-led weaning, so like if I'm giving him something that he can't pick up on his own, I just kind of mash it with a fork. But other than that, it's in a form that he can pick up and feed himself, or I'm holding it for him because he can't quite grip it, whatever. Yeah. So we didn't. I had some baby food given to me from a friend, and so we have used some of that. But I find that that's more work for me because I have to sit there and. No, I don't spoon feed him, but I have to get it on the spoon for him, and then I give him the spoon because he can't scoop it yet, And I don't like that. Yeah. I like putting the food on the tray and being like, here you go. I'm just checking in with him every once in a while.
So I think this might be a good time, and you can talk about others that you didn't like if they come to mind, but to talk about some products that we did like, some other ones. You were talking about spoons, and in the last couple episodes, I can't remember which one right now, you talked about a spoon that you really like. I was saying it looked like asparagus. And then these are 2. I can't remember. Cody, you have these ones, right? Yeah, this is
a lot.
I want to say Munchkin brand.
Yeah.
And the logo looked like it. And you can buy them in different sets, but they're nice because they have this barrier. And then we got these as well for their first birthday. The idea is that they can bend different ways to allow the toddler, like I'm guessing if they're predominantly grabbing a certain way, but my kids get all weirded out. Like I've tried bending it for them if they look like they're not turning their hand, and then they just freeze and drop it. So I just left it, and yeah, I mean, it still isn't, they can still use it, but I liked it that it wasn't metal till they're ready for ones like this, and they can kind of gauge like how hard it is to not stab themselves.
Just as a note, and Phil, you can edit this out, when we're showing things, make sure that we're describing what they are too, because only our patrons are going to be watching the video. So I think you did a pretty good job with that, but I don't know if you ever said that it was a spoon.
A spoon and a fork. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll add that in right now. So this spoon and fork are very nice. The second one I held up, I can't remember the brand, but we'll make sure to link it. And it's made of like silicone or something like that.
We love those spoons. Jamie is now starting to learn how to pick up the spoon, so I can just kind of put it in the puree, and then he can pick it up himself and put it in his mouth, which is great.
Yeah.
I feel like that's really good for a 5-month-old. He just turned 5 months this week. I'm just like, I don't know if I remember any babies being that young, like being able to feed themselves with a spoon. I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were like those. And then I don't have one with me, but we also have the Munchkin bowls that are suction at the bottom, which if I forget to like push it down and suction it, he immediately picks it up and like turns it over.
Oh yeah,
so
get
suctioning the bowls is awesome.
That's good that it's worked. It won't suction for us. None of them will suction.
Wow.
We don't have bowls, but we have plates, and they suction cup good.
Yeah,
that's good.
That's cool. So the other thing I had on that was eating related was our high chair, which I can't really show on the video.
That's okay.
But and I can't remember the brand of it, but we can link it in the show notes. But what I like about it is that it's a high chair seat, and it also fits onto a base, so it can be a standalone high chair, but the seat comes off and can go onto a kitchen dining room chair. And then the base is also a seat. So we got it with the intention, if we had a second kid and our first kid was still needing a booster seat or whatever, that you can use it with multiple kids, because you can use the two pieces separately. But what I like best about it is that it has a plastic tray that goes over the tray.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't have to wash the tray in the sink. You can just kind of pop the surface tray off and wash it. And
That's really
that
nice.
is amazing.
That's awesome. Cody, do you want to go ahead? We'll just kind of go around.
Yeah. What do I really want to talk about? I'll talk about the one I have here. So we just got a pump that I called my insurance company. I was like, what's the best pump? Because I didn't do any research. And she was like, oh, the Spectra one is the best.
I've heard that.
So I got this Spectra. It's what I like about it is that it's wireless. So you charge it and then I could take it anywhere and I wouldn't have to worry about plugging it in. Yeah.
That's different than I've heard. That's awesome.
Yes. So we like went to, Seven Peaks, which is like a
water park.
And I needed to pump in the middle, but I didn't want to have to go back to the car. And so I just kind of like went and chilled on a bench and pumped, and then put my bottles back in our little diaper bag cooler thing that I'd brought, and it was super nice. It comes with, you can pump both at the same time. These are what the bottles look like. They're pretty big bottles. Yeah. The only thing that's hard is that you can't use regular like nipples on these bottles because they're wider than normal bottles. I guess standard, I don't know. That's one thing that was hard, because if I had to pump, then I would have to transfer it to a different bottle before feeding him. So that was that. And then this puppy. So I had Haka. I had engorgement and an oversupply. And so what I would do when I was first nursing is I would put this on and let a little bit of the milk come out before feeding Emmett, so that it wasn't coming out so fast that he couldn't drink. And it's nice because it doesn't work like a pump. Some pumps can cause like mastitis or other problems, and so this was a more natural way when I was just starting out to release some milk without having to waste it.
That's awesome. I'm going to mention a couple of lifesavers that I won't show, and one of them is even recalled, but it's still, I think, good to say. So the recalled one might be obvious, the Rock and Play Sleeper, and obviously I'm sad for all the unfortunate things that happened with it, but for our twins, it was literally a lifesaver. I mean, that's not literally, figuratively, a lifesaver. And I just felt like it really helped us, and so I'm really grateful we did have it for the time that we did. And then also, when I asked my husband about products that he really liked, he said the stroller. And I was like, okay, I don't know how often he uses it, but I'm glad he likes it. It's not terrible, but I will say if, as I guess it's actually called Kiko, not Chico, if they're listening, they need to put a cell phone holder in it. That's my biggest complaint. It's like, what is this? What century are we in here? 20th? I don't know. So those are a couple.
That's the same with the stroller that I have, which now I'm blanking on the name brand, Graco. The tray has like a little thing that you can put stuff in, but no phone.
Seriously.
Today. You would need like a Nokia or a flip phone. That's the only thing that could fit in that container.
They're like, we're keeping this model till it's sold out, everybody.
Yeah.
No making it.
Right. I mean, at this point, they need to have mounts for like iPad Pros. I mean, this is the generation that we're in.
That's true. That's true. Also, I was going to say, get Velcro swaddlers. Oh my gosh, we were doing like the blankets, and swaddlers are good, like swaddling, knowing how to do like the lightweight, whatever. But Velcro swaddlers were a game changer for us. So fast, so much easier. Like at night when I don't know what's going on, trying to do a tight, clean swaddle for my baby was
I just tied the bottom.
so frustrating. God.
Yeah.
Although
Sometimes I'd wake up and I'd be like, oh, sorry, kid. What did I do?
what's
going
really funny about that is I got those and I tried to use them, and TJ is very, very claustrophobic and would not let me use them. He would not use them, and anytime I used them, he got uncomfortable seeing that Jamie couldn't move.
Empathetic.
So what I do have actually are these. This is the
Yeah, those are good too.
It's like a star sack.
Love to dream swaddle, and this one I have two of them. One of them does not have detachable sleeves, and this one does have detachable sleeves. So there's like a zipper there, so you can take the little wings off. But it keeps their hands up like this, which he really loves, because then he can just turn his head and kind of suck on his hands at night. And he didn't look like he was as imprisoned, but it still gave him the restriction to keep the startle reflex from waking him. So those, I 100% swear by those. I bought one at a consignment, and then immediately after using it for a couple of days went and bought one full price so that we could have two. Now they don't work after they start rolling over, so I've ordered a new swaddle that is for babies who can roll over, and we haven't used it yet, but maybe when we use it, if it's good, I'll talk about it on a podcast later on. But
yeah,
those are great for when your baby can't roll over.
So real quick before the time is up on this one, so I want to talk about some eating. We've talked about water bottles and things that can help when your baby's transitioning from a bottle, if they use a bottle, or nursing a cup. And I've liked these 360 cups. This is Munchkin brand. I know there's different brands, but we were enlightened to understand that straws are better for helping with speech development. And with my concerns recently for Buddy and Swiss, it was very acutely on my mind. And so I was researching some and looking into other reviews. And then I found this, that Munchkin has an attachment for this. And so I loved it because I didn't want another thing taking up space. And so it can go in. It's too tall right now. I need a, just, this is super narrow hole. It's really good. It's like really hard to pull it through. I actually was it's good. Too small. Yeah, because the kids just rip them out, and it has a buffer at the end there. Nice. So it can't go through I really like that it doesn't, it can't be pulled through, because my kids in particular will pull their straws out a lot, and we tested them out today and they worked real well. Oh, and also they twist on. So if you guys get this, or if any of you listeners end up getting this, it doesn't snap, the lid doesn't snap onto the cup, it twists, and it does actually seal it, in my opinion, much better than these with the suction top. Because as we know, when they slam them down on the ground and there's like a waterfall of water, these, when they slammed them down on the ground, didn't react the same way.
That's interesting. Okay.
Awesome. So I just had a couple more. One thing that I would probably say my very two favorite things, if I ever have more kids and can't have anything else, would be that swaddle that I just showed, and a silicone changing pad. I have Skip Hop brand, and I think OXO brand also makes one, and then there's probably one or two more on the market. Bumbo might make one, actually. They are much more expensive than a regular changing pad, and so I was wary of the purchase because I'm like, it was probably 2 to 3 times more expensive than just a regular cloth changing pad. It is so worth the money, in my opinion, especially if you have a boy, because he pees so much when changing him, and it's so easy for me to just wipe it up, and then when I'm done with him and I put him down or whatever, I have a thing of Clorox wipes next to it that I can just kind of wipe the pad down. I never have to take a changing pad cover off and wash it, and that to me is just so worth it. The Skip Hop one has a little what's it called, mobile on the side, like it comes up and over, so there's a little thing that he can look at too. And just so well, both TJ and I agree that is probably the very best thing that we have. That's probably unnecessary because you can get a cheaper one and whatever, but it feels necessary to us. And then the other thing, which I know you had something like this, Brittany, but Cody, I'm not sure if you did, but this O-ball thing.
Yeah.
So O-Ball makes several of these. We also have one that's like a shaker in the middle, and then it's got 2 little balls on the side. And then they also make them where it like a car, where this is the top of the car, and then there's wheels on the bottom. But basically the O-Ball just has really thin joints, I guess, between, it's like a wiffle ball with giant circles. This is the very first thing that he was able to grab and shake, and it's still his favorite toy after, I don't know, 2 months of actually playing with toys. This is his favorite one because it's so easy for him to get his fingers around it and hold on to it tight and, you know, shake it and whatever. So yeah, this is an O-Ball, just a ball, and it has these little rattle things inside of it. But yeah, there's lots of different kinds, but I would highly recommend an O-Ball for those motor functions.
Yeah, we have the car version. At least we might have a ball and I forgot, but my kids like the car a lot.
Yeah. And then I have 2 more things. One, I will say for postpartum recovery, the best gift that I received was disposable underwear. Not the pads from the hospital, which I did use. And Cody, you gave me some pads and some stuff too, and that was helpful. But the very best thing was it was just a pack from like Walmart or something, and it was meant for like incontinence. But it was like a full-on underwear, like really stretchy.
Depends.
It was like a Depends diaper, right? Yeah, that was the best.
Absolute best.
They're the best.
I will never have a baby again without getting though. And I didn't have enough, and we ran out, and I had to use like the pads instead. Even though I didn't bleed for very long, but definitely those. It's amazing. It's so much better than.
That's why I had pads left over, because I bought the diapers, and when I started using them, I was like, I'm not using these pads. They suck. I'm using the diapers.
Yeah, it's just so. Yeah, it was so much easier than trying to worry about pad placement or anything like that. And then the other thing was something that all 3 of us used, which was the owlet sock that we were gifted. Thank goodness, because it's quite expensive, but I think we've talked about it before on the podcast, and it's just gives such peace of mind. And that initial period when you just brought the baby home and he's not sleeping very much and you're not sleeping very much, like having that extra anxiety keeps me from sleeping. And so that peace of mind just helped so much with that, being able to sleep.
Yeah. Is that your lesson?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and talk about mine while Cody is running off real quick. But I really like this. I think it might even be Skip Hop. I actually don't see a brand on it, so maybe it's not, but this is a faucet cover for the tub, and I looked at a lot of reviews. Okay, yeah, from on Amazon, and I ended up getting this one. I can't remember what combination of reviews or comments and things, because I usually just look at the stars, but then in the later, like recent months, I've been looking at the actual comments, because sometimes people put stars and stuff that don't really correlate with the comments anyway. And there was a lot of, it was funny how many people were like, terrible products, and fall off, my kid will pull off. But this has been really awesome. And I'm going to make sure to, we'll link all of these, just so you can know exactly all the ones that we can get them for. But I particularly like this, of course, to protect their head, but I think it's really cute, and also because my kids haven't ripped it off. And I feel like my son is stupidly strong, like babies tend to be. And then the other thing I wanted to mention that I think is a product that we've talked about before, maybe in our first or second episode, is toothbrushes. And there's a lot of toothbrushes out there, but I really like this set because it comes with, it's really hard to see in the video, but it comes with a clear one to start off, and then it has the like stages. And I think this biggest or full bristled one is supposed to be for age 2, but we started it closer to 1 because it just wasn't, they had teeth that needed more cleaning than these silicone ones were providing, but that was our choice. It's Nubby or Newbie, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but brand. And I really like it, so that because I'm a person that if I don't have it, I tend to worry and feel some paralysis about whether I should buy it and if it's going to be a waste. And so because it was already a set there, I thought, great, we're set until whenever, because I think it even says use this brush from 2 to 4 years old, which as a side note, I think you're supposed to switch out your toothbrush every 3 months. So I don't know, but kids are kind of different. But anyway, those are the products that I wanted to make sure to mention.
That was one more note I was going to say was one of the things that I am grateful for that I did was buy as much convertible stuff that ages with your child as you can. Like buying something for a specific stage of life can sometimes be a waste of money because they go from stage to stage so quickly, especially in my case with my giant baby. We did use a bassinet, and I was so grateful to have it, and we had it just right next to the bed, right next to me. But it was one that you gifted us, Brittany, and the weight limit was like 15 pounds, which he reached like that. Like he was like hardly any time. Yeah. It was like only 5 pounds more than his birth weight.
Yeah.
So, that I definitely would have gotten something that would have lasted longer for a bigger weight. Our infant car seat, he has grown out of. He's 5 months old. He can't use the infant car seat anymore. So we bought a convertible car seat that will take him all the way to 110 pounds, whatever, a booster seat thing. It's like a 4-stage thing. So just stuff like that. Like I was talking about my high chair being convertible and, growing with him. And Cody, you were talking about the scooter too. Like it's so important to, if you're going to spend your money on something, make sure that it'll grow with your child, and hopefully you won't regret it. Hopefully they'll enjoy it and you'll be able to use it for that much time.
But then if you sell it, it has a lot of life in it too.
Right.
Cody, did you have any more products that sound like you had one more or two?
The one thing I wanted to talk about that was really helpful for me is just, I feel like I had a lot of stress related to how to gauge Emma's development and different areas. What do I need to focus on? And what are activities that are gauged to exactly what I need to focus on? And so I did a lot of research, tried a lot of different applications, tried like different books that online that I thought might work. And the thing that I felt like worked the best for me was this app called Baby Sparks. I don't know if you can see it. You probably can't. Baby Sparks. It looks like that. I did pay for premium. So it is something you have to pay for if you want all the content, but I think you can still get some content for free.
You can. I was surprised actually at how many articles there are. There's not like specific things to your child, but there's articles.
Yeah.
Oh.
Let's see. How are we what did I do to make it work good? Anyway, there's a lot of different things. So every day they'll give you a program of different activities to do with your child. They also have just a list of all the activities. Yeah, you try to get it to work.
Oh, there.
Oh, dang it. We had it for a second. Oh, good. Okay. So you can kind of see today's activities. And once you get those done, can you go into one of the activities, Jess? Can you try clicking on one of them to show how it works? So you click into one of the activities and it says completed. If it gives you a little video explanation of what to do with the activity. When you complete it, you click check. If it's too easy, you can click too easy, and then they'll know if it's too difficult, then they'll move you to something easier. I also like that this is always backed up by articles. They have the facts, they have the information showing why this is going to help your kid. And then also, yes.
Backwards. Sorry, it's backwards.
No,
it's not.
No, we can read it.
Oh, okay, good.
And then there's also something that says milestones. So I'll go through this every once in a while and I'll say, okay, what are the different things Emmett can do and what can't he do to better gauge the plan for your child? And then the last thing I like is if you go to My Child, it shows you kind of like stats about your child. Yes. So you can see their different milestones and they have kind of like, the different categories where they're at, which I think is so cool. So I really love this app. We use it to help Emmett. And I think he's a pretty smart kid. I mean, he's doing good.
He is. He is.
And this just gives me a lot of peace of mind. If I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do today? I'll go there. I'll look, oh my gosh, these are great. 5 activities. So.
And TJ loves it too because he feels like he can be involved in Jamie's development when he's not around all the time, so he doesn't know exactly where Jamie is developmentally. and he wants to interact with him in that way, he can just open up the app because it's, shareable and whatever. So he can just open it up and do the activities with him, and we really like it too.
And I like that it can, it sends you, I guess you could turn it off, but for me, it sends push notifications of like, hey, this is happening, or happy whatever months. And it's kind of like, oh, well, thanks. But it's also, but it's also nice, like, oh, did you know about this? And I'm like, I did not.
Like,
so that's awesome.
Let me get on that. I'm glad.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
so helpful. I've enjoyed it a lot. And if you're wondering, I don't know if this is legal, but it can have multiple children. Get out if it's legal. Other people can figure that out. But it can have multiple children. So if you purchase it one time, you can put all of your children under your account and their ages, and it will gauge each child's age specifically with the activities. So
pretty sure that's legal. I think that's yeah. So it's been really nice.
So
like,
if you have like 10 kids or more, then I don't know. Is there a limit on how many kids you can have?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Or start making up kids.
Yeah.
Currently we have 4.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, if you want to split the price, it's expensive. But they'll be like,
yeah.
Baby Sparks will reach out and shut us down.
You're listening. When I'm so flattered.
That's when we know we're big. That's when we know we're big.
I know.
Yeah, right.
When Carol Baskin and Baby Sparks reach out. Well, thanks for bringing that app up. We all like it. And there's a lot of those products that we all agree that they're good. Some we haven't all used, and others we might not agree on, maybe it wasn't as helpful to others. And so you can obviously gauge things for yourself. And that's why there are so many products. Well, that's not maybe why, it's because we're in a capitalistic society, but we can definitely benefit from things other people can't. So those are some of our plugs. We're going to go ahead and wrap up. Just as a quick note, I meant to ask you, Cody, if you could do the recipe. So if you'd be willing to do it later, or unless you have one, you want to just do it.
I have a suggestion for a meal. Does that work?
Yeah, that works. Hang on a second. I'll lead into it. So we'll go ahead and wrap up today's episode. And Cody has, I'll just say a recipe, and then you can say whatever you want. A recipe for us today.
Okay. So one thing that I have struggled with is breakfast foods, because I am so dysfunctional in the mornings. And I do not enjoy waking up and making a classy, healthy meal for my son. And so what I did is I made pancakes, just the Annie's organic pancake mix, but I pureed a bunch of carrots, zucchini, and those are the 2 I did. Oh, and banana. I pureed them and I mixed it in, and then I made a bunch, like 50 pancakes. They're small, and then froze them, and it's been the best. So if you're looking for a good, healthy breakfast that does not require a lot of functioning with high heat and knives, because that's me. I'm like, I don't do well in the morning with stoves and knives. This is a good option for you. It seems pretty simple, but it's so nice. And if ever I have Eat and Wake Up with Emmett, or for some reason my mom comes into town and she's waking up with Emmett, I can say there's pancakes in the freezer, and it's so simple for them to
so nice
their breakfast. Yeah.
And that's kind of what we were talking about with the American breakfast type thing. Like, how often do people have vegetables for breakfast?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I hated that.
We should.
I hated that he wasn't getting vegetables at breakfast. And so I thought, I am going to integrate this somehow. And I know that vegetable exposure is good. Like, you want them to see the vegetables, but I'm not doing it at 8 in the morning. It's not happening. So this is the meal where he's going to get the hidden vegetables, and it's great. And he loves it. And you can't taste the difference.
That's what I was going to ask, if you could taste the carrots in there.
Nope, we ate them. I did a trial run with carrots. I didn't do zucchini, but I tried on the trial run. I had Eden eat it because I knew he was not about to lie to me. If he could taste the carrots, he was going to tell me, and he could not taste the difference. And then I tried one with the zucchini, and you can't even tell. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I might do that, because I was thinking of that too. I gave him cucumber. I'll make it. Tomatoes this morning, and I realized midway through the day what I had done. I broke the mold.
There you go. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you. So thank you for introducing to that to us. I appreciate those types of ideas as well. So thanks. Now we want to really encourage our listeners to be sure to catch our next episode. We're going to have a special Father's Day guys takeover episode with some special guest hosts who we feel and keep near and dear to our hearts. So let's leave it there, but make sure to check it out. It will be like no episode, I'm sure, that we've had. Make sure to check out our website, partumthemess.com, where you'll get all of these products that we can find and link for you, and then also the recommendation for a meal that Cody just shared. Then we're also on social media on Instagram and Twitter, as well as Facebook at Partum the Mess. And if you like our content, be sure to come over and check us out on Patreon, because we have more and more content we're adding there in the form of bonus content. Like the video that we're doing today for this episode will be there, and then some other special things for higher tiered patrons. And if you're interested in supporting us, but you're not sure how much of a commitment, know that you can, I guess, unsubscribe. I don't know, the word would be discontinue that anytime. And there's many tiers to meet different financial situations, but we appreciate all your support, including listening. And a special plug I'd like to, or a special mention I'd like to give before we conclude, is that if you're listening and you have somebody come to mind that you think would enjoy this, please share it with them. You don't have to know if they'll like podcasts or this podcast, but give them the opportunity to listen, because we really want to reach more ears and more eyes, hopefully on Patreon, to be able to enrich people's lives with the information that has enriched ours, as well as be able to bring information on social media. So whether it be introducing them to our social media page or account, or over on the podcast, please consider other people that might benefit. And we want to thank you again for listening. And then Cody, after I do the thing, will you say we're making memories?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I leaned away. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. So make sure to join not us, but them next week and Partum the Mess.
We're making memories.